Charlie Kirk's sudden passing shocked Trump's world, raising urgent questions about the billionaire power machine he left in place. Turning Point USA, once a scrappy student group, had ballooned from a $78,000 budget to over $82 million in just a decade. And in 2023, a major security breach involving Trump revealed how fragile even fortress-level power can be. Stay until the end, when we expose the dark money pipeline still fueling Trump's empire. Charlie Kirk's sudden passing and the machine he left behind. On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk's sudden passing stunned the American political world. Just hours before, the 31-year-old founder of Turning Point USA had been speaking before a crowd of more than 3,000 at Utah Valley University. His unexpected death left an empire in question, a multi-million-dollar political machine that had grown from modest beginnings into one of the most powerful youth movements in US history. Turning Point USA's financial trajectory tells the story best. In 2013, its total revenue was just $78,000, barely enough to cover travel and flyers for a handful of student chapters. By 2016, however, revenue had jumped to $4.3 million, buoyed by major donations that allowed Kirk to rent arenas, stage national conferences, and hire professional staff. The growth didn't stop there. By 2020, TPUSA reported nearly $40 million in revenue, and in 2023, the figure reached an astonishing $82 million. Such exponential growth was far beyond what grassroots donations from students could explain. Analysts point to an extensive donor network of billionaires quietly channeling millions through non-profits and foundations. This dark money pipeline transformed Kirk from a campus activist into a power broker with direct access to Trump's inner circle. His sudden loss doesn't erase that infrastructure, it forces questions about who controls it now. Kirk's own lifestyle symbolized the scale of his success. In Arizona, he purchased a $4.75 million mansion equipped with luxury amenities and a high-tech security system comparable to those in celebrity compounds. In Florida, he owned a condo valued at $855,000, a strategic location close to Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, itself worth more than $300 million. His travel often involved private jets, costing tens of thousands per trip, while his wardrobe included tailored suits from brands like Brioni and watches retailing above $10,000. The contrast between Kirk's public image as a grassroots champion and his reality as a billionaire-backed insider is striking. He was the young face of a movement, but behind him stood donors with fortunes measured in billions. With his passing, the machine he built, funded by tycoons like Foster Friess, Bernard Marcus, and Richard Uihlein, remains intact, still pumping money into Trump's political future. Do you think Kirk's empire will outlive him, continuing to fuel Trump's rise, or will his sudden loss fracture the network he created? Comment Kirk's legacy if you believe the machine will keep running. From suburban Illinois to Trump's inner circle. Charlie Kirk's story begins not in Washington or Manhattan boardrooms, but in the suburbs of Illinois. Born in Arlington Heights in 1993, he grew up in a middle-class household far removed from the billionaire donors who would later fund his rise. His father was a project manager in architecture, his mother a homemaker. Kirk was not destined for political stardom. He wasn't admitted to West Point, the military academy he once dreamed of attending. Instead, he dropped out of community college and redirected his ambitions into activism. In 2012, at just 18, he co-founded Turning Point USA with little more than a borrowed laptop and a handful of volunteers. The group's first-year revenue was less than $80,000, barely enough to cover printing pamphlets and renting small hotel conference rooms. But Kirk displayed relentless drive. He pitched himself as a youth ambassador who could deliver what Republicans lacked: genuine traction on college campuses. By 2013, his appearances on Fox News began drawing attention, and by 2015, TPUSA had student chapters in dozens of states. The turning point came with Donald Trump's presidential run. As Trump electrified arenas across America, Kirk saw an opening. He positioned himself as the bridge between Trump and young voters. By 2016, Kirk was invited to events at Trump Tower, where he gained face time with senior campaign figures. The access was no accident. TPUSA's budget had already swelled past $4 million thanks to early billionaire donors. By 2018, Kirk was no longer the outsider. Photos show him alongside Trump at rallies with crowds exceeding 20,000, often standing just steps from the podium. He attended Oval Office meetings, was invited to exclusive dinners at Mar-a-Lago, and frequently appeared with Trump family members at Turning Point conferences, staged in venues that cost millions to produce. The branding was deliberate. Large LED screens, luxury hotel ballrooms like the Gaylord Palms Resort in Orlando, and headline speakers flown in on private jets. What set Kirk apart was his ability to market activism like a startup. He built a personal brand tied directly to Trump's image of wealth and success, aligning himself with moguls rather than grassroots volunteers. From a suburban dropout, he became a polished insider, moving seamlessly between college campuses and billionaire boardrooms, securing his role as Trump's youthful power broker. The First Million, Foster Freeze, and the Stairwell Deal. The story of Charlie Kirk's leap from small-time campus organizer to national political player begins in a hotel stairwell at the Republican National Convention in Tampa in 2012. At just 18, armed with a suit that didn't quite fit and a folder of flyers, Kirk was desperate for someone to listen. He found his audience in Foster Freeze, a billionaire investor known for his fortune in mutual funds and his philanthropy in conservative causes. Kirk delivered his pitch with characteristic urgency. A youth movement could be built to counter progressive dominance on college campuses. Freeze listened, impressed not just by the idea, but by the determination of a teenager willing to network in stairwells when everyone else was chasing power brokers on the convention floor. His first gesture was modest by billionaire standards, $10,000. But it gave Kirk the confidence to push forward. Within a year, Freeze had invested more than $1 million into Kirk's fledgling project. For Turning Point USA, that money was transformative. It moved the organization from grassroots tables and student unions to professional office space, a growing staff, and the ability to host large-scale events. Suddenly, TPUSA could rent hotel ballrooms costing tens of thousands per night, outfit them with LED screens and sound systems, and fly in guest speakers on private jets. The presentation shifted from student activism to something resembling a corporate conference. Freeze also provided something less tangible but equally powerful: access. Through his network, Kirk met donors tied to the Republican establishment and, eventually, figures linked to Trump's 2016 campaign. These introductions were crucial. A teenager from suburban Illinois could not have walked into those rooms on his own. With Freeze's backing, however, Kirk had a seat at the table. The influence of Freeze's early investment is reflected in TPUSA's meteoric financial rise. By 2013, the group's revenue had quadrupled, reaching nearly $800,000. By 2015, it had surpassed $4 million. The trajectory traced directly back to that stairwell encounter, when one billionaire decided that Kirk's vision was worth betting on. The stairwell deal has since become legend within conservative circles. It was not just the moment Kirk secured his first major donor, it was the point where his organization ceased being a grassroots project and became a billionaire-backed venture. Without Freeze, there may never have been a turning point powerful enough to shape Trump's inner circle. Bernard Marcus, the Home Depot tycoon. If Charlie Kirk's first million came from Foster Freeze, his expansion into a national powerhouse was supercharged by Bernard Marcus, the billionaire co-founder of Home Depot. With a net worth estimated at more than $9 billion, Marcus represents the kind of donor who can not only fund a movement, but shape its trajectory. For Kirk, Marcus's involvement meant credibility, deep pockets, and the ability to transform Turning Point USA into a polished, professional brand aligned with Donald Trump's world. Marcus began donating heavily in the mid-2010s, just as Trump's presidential run was capturing national attention. His contributions, running into the millions, were used to underwrite campus tours that went far beyond the scale of student activism. TPUSA began booking arenas where rental costs alone could exceed $100,000 per night, outfitting them with large LED walls, professional sound engineering, and marketing budgets that rivaled corporate product launches. Events that once relied on folding chairs in classrooms now looked like full-scale political rallies. The connection to Marcus was strategic. Home Depot itself had become a symbol of American retail success, and Marcus's fortune embodied the entrepreneurial spirit Trump admired. By aligning TPUSA with Marcus, Kirk gained access to a donor whose reputation carried weight among other billionaires. This credibility opened doors to further donations and reinforced TPUSA as a safe bet for donors who wanted to influence the next generation. Marcus's personal lifestyle also reflected the scale of his wealth. His Florida estate, complete with private beachfront and security systems worth millions, became a hub for gatherings of political and business elites. He was also known for his extensive art collection, with pieces valued in the tens of millions, as well as his philanthropy, which included gifts of $25 million to medical centers and cultural institutions. These displays of wealth placed him firmly in the same orbit as Trump, where luxury, politics, and influence converge. For Kirk, Marcus's involvement meant more than money. It symbolized acceptance into the billionaire class that defined Trump's movement. The infrastructure built with Marcus's support allowed TPUSA to grow from a student project into a national machine, capable of mobilizing tens of thousands of young voters. Without Marcus, Kirk's vision might have remained regional. With him, it became a pillar of Trump's political future. Do you think Marcus's backing was about shaping policy or about securing influence over America's next generation of voters? Comment Marcus Power if you believe it was both. Richard Uihlein, shipping fortune turned political weapon. Richard Uihlein is not a household name like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, but within conservative politics his influence is immense. The heir to the Schlitz brewing fortune and the billionaire founder of the shipping supply giant Uihlein, Uihlein has built a reputation as one of the most powerful financiers in the Trump era. With a net worth estimated at over $4 billion, his fortune has been quietly transformed into a political weapon, channeling tens of millions of dollars into super PACs, candidates, and organizations aligned with Donald Trump. Unlike Foster Friess, who acted as Kirk's initial benefactor, or Bernard Marcus, whose philanthropy carried a public face, Uihlein has preferred to operate in the shadows. His donations to Kirk's network have often flowed through political action committees and non-profit entities, allowing him to influence outcomes without direct public scrutiny. Between 2016 and 2022, watchdog groups estimated that Uihlein and his wife Elizabeth donated over $190 million to conservative causes, with millions directly benefiting Turning Point USA's operations and Trump-endorsed candidates. Uihlein's involvement allowed Kirk to scale up activities at a pace no grassroots fundraising could match. Donor retreats at exclusive resorts became a signature, with guest lists that included Trump campaign strategists, Republican governors, and billionaire allies. At these gatherings, Kirk played host, while Uihlein provided the financial muscle. Deals were made not in public forums, but in boardrooms overlooking golf courses where membership fees ran into the tens of thousands. The Uihlein fortune itself explains the scale of Uihlein's influence. Founded in 1980, the company grew from a garage-based catalog of shipping supplies into a logistics empire, with annual revenues exceeding $6 billion. Its warehouses stretch across the United States, stocked with everything from corrugated boxes to industrial shelving. That steady stream of commercial income underwrites Uihlein's ability to fund politics on a scale few others can match. The combination of Kirk's youthful charisma and Uihlein's financial resources proved potent. Together, they created channels of support that fueled Trump's campaign ecosystem. Media buys worth millions, youth voter drives staged with professional polish, and political ads saturating battleground states. For Uihlein, the goal was not publicity, but results, transforming a shipping fortune into a political arsenal that ensured Trump's allies had both the funding and the infrastructure to compete at the highest level. The 2023 attack attempt and Trump's fortress life. In mid-2023, Donald Trump faced a serious security incident that reminded the world how vulnerable even the most heavily guarded figures can be. The breach was neutralized quickly, but the symbolism was clear. Political power at Trump's level requires more than speeches and rallies. It requires a defensive architecture worth hundreds of millions of dollars, financed by both personal wealth and billionaire allies. At the center of this protective environment is Mar-a-Lago, Trump's Palm Beach estate, valued at over $300 million. The property spans 20 acres of prime oceanfront land with gilded ballrooms, imported Italian marble worth $400 per square foot, and chandeliers priced in the tens of thousands. Yet beneath the glamour lies a fortress-like system. Surveillance cameras cover every corner, reinforced walls conceal panic rooms, and a private security staff coordinates closely with federal agents. For Trump, luxury and protection are inseparable. When he travels, the scale of the operation is unmistakable. Motorcades often include 30 to 40 vehicles, from Cadillac Escalades, priced above $100,000 each, to Mercedes-Maybach sedans, valued at $200,000, customized with armored plating and bullet-resistant glass. Each car is connected by encrypted communications to mobile command centers, capable of relaying real-time intelligence. Overhead, helicopters or surveillance drones track potential risks miles in advance, creating multiple layers of protection. The cost of sustaining such a security apparatus is staggering. Analysts estimate that maintaining protective measures around Trump's properties and travel runs into the tens of millions of dollars annually. This includes not only motorcades and monitoring systems, but also security for other high-value assets, Trump Tower in New York, where penthouses are valued at more than $100 million, and golf resorts in Scotland and Ireland, each worth tens of millions. Every site represents both a brand symbol and a potential vulnerability, requiring constant investment in security infrastructure. The 2023 incident revealed the stakes. Trump's visibility on the global stage, combined with the controversies surrounding his political career, makes him one of the most watched and therefore most threatened figures in the world. His ability to project resilience depends not only on law enforcement, but also on the billionaires and donors who help finance the political and personal machinery around him. In this sense, the fortress around Trump is more than security. It is a statement of wealth and dominance, a visible reminder that his empire is designed to withstand any challenge. Kirk's lifestyle transformation. Charlie Kirk began his career projecting the image of a grassroots activist, youthful, scrappy, and operating on modest resources. Yet by the late 2010s, as billionaire donations poured into Turning Point USA, his personal life shifted dramatically. The man once seen handing out flyers on campus began living in a way that mirrored the moguls he aligned himself with, adopting the symbols of wealth as part of his political persona. In 2022, Kirk purchased a $4.75 million mansion in Scottsdale, Arizona. The property, spread across nearly an acre, included floor-to-ceiling glass walls, a resort-style pool, and a smart home system costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Its interior design featured imported stone, custom cabinetry, and appliances from luxury brands like Sub-Zero and Wolf, elevating the estate far above any student-driven movement's modest beginnings. Not long after, he acquired a condo in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, valued close to $1 million. The location was telling, just miles from Trump's Mar-a-Lago, itself valued at more than $300 million. Proximity gave Kirk access to the same orbit of exclusive dinners, fundraising galas, and donor retreats that defined Trump's lifestyle. The Florida condo served less as a residence than as a strategic base, positioning him within the billionaire's social circuit. Kirk's travel also reflected this shift. Reports placed him frequently on private jets, with charter flights costing upwards of $25,000 per trip. He attended donor gatherings at five-star resorts, wearing tailored suits from Brioni, a brand where jackets can sell for over $7,000, and watches from Rolex, with models valued above $15,000. Each accessory was more than an indulgence. It was a signal to donors and allies that he belonged in their world. This transformation marked a stark contrast with the image Kirk had cultivated early on. He once portrayed himself as the outsider fighting entrenched elites. Yet by his early 30s, he was hosting events in luxury hotels where room blocks could run $500 per night per guest, dining at venues where menus featured wines costing thousands of dollars per bottle. The aesthetic closely mirrored Trump's own approach. Use wealth and opulence as proof of success, blurring the line between political power and personal luxury. Kirk's lifestyle was no longer separate from his politics. It became part of the brand. By presenting himself in the same light as Trump and his billionaire backers, he turned personal opulence into political capital, reinforcing his image as not just an activist, but a power broker molded in Trump's image. The dark money pipeline and the global chessboard. Behind Charlie Kirk's rapid ascent was a flow of money that most Americans never saw. Public filings showed Turning Point USA raising tens of millions, but watchdog groups revealed that more than $7 million every year came from anonymous sources. These donations, routed through non-profit foundations and shell entities, allowed billionaires to influence politics without their names ever appearing on campaign disclosures. For Trump's movement, this system was invaluable. It ensured funding remained steady even when public opinion was divided. The mechanics were as sophisticated as any corporate structure. Funds could move from a family foundation in Texas to a donor-advised fund in Washington, then into TPUSA, where they financed campus tours, digital ads, and national conferences. 1 year alone, the group spent more than $12 million on events, staged in luxury hotels like the Gaylord Palms Resort in Orlando, where ballroom rentals can exceed $100,000 per night. The spectacle resembled corporate conventions more than grassroots rallies, but the funding source remained hidden behind legal walls of anonymity. This dark money pipeline extended far beyond US borders. In Silicon Valley, tech magnates with fortunes over $50 billion quietly explored ways to shape online discourse, funding digital campaigns and algorithm-driven ad buys that reached millions of young voters. In the Middle East, sovereign wealth funds worth hundreds of billions were invested into American companies tied to Trump's allies, creating overlapping layers of political and financial influence. European donors added yet another dimension, especially those with vast fortunes in energy and real estate, channeling funds through think tanks that hosted lavish summits in cities like London and Vienna. The result was an international chessboard where Kirk and Trump were pieces moved by billionaire players with global interests. For some, the goal was ideological alignment. For others, it was access to Trump's business empire, including properties like Trump Tower in New York, valued at hundreds of millions, and golf resorts in Scotland, where club memberships and development projects became tools of influence. This network remains one of Trump's darkest secrets, a financial machine stretching across continents, blending politics, wealth, and personal branding into a single engine of power. Do you think this global billionaire chessboard will grow even stronger in Trump's next chapter? Or is it only a matter of time before hidden players are fully exposed? Comment, global network, if you believe the story is just beginning. From Charlie Kirk's meteoric rise to his shocking loss, and from Trump's near-miss security scare in 2023 to his billion-dollar lifestyle at Mar-a-Lago, one truth emerges. Politics at this level is built on money, power, and protection. Kirk's billionaire backers, Fries, Marcus, Uhain, and others, ensured his movement could grow from campuses to the White House. Even after his passing, the machine continues to channel millions into Trump's orbit. If you found this investigation eye-popping, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Billionaire Story, and turn on notifications for more untold secrets of global power.